Good afternoon. This is Noel Sheets, the Lone Star Norseman, and we're going to do some mead making today. Today we're going to make a traditional mead, which is honey, yeast, and water. We'll also be adding some yeast nutrient as well, just trying to make the best product possible. So these are a few of the pieces of equipment that I've accumulated. I started making mead last year, so I'm not an expert at it yet, but I have a couple batches under my belt. Most of the meads I made last year were melomels. I made some blueberry. I made a cherry mixed berry. I made one batch of Sizer. I made some ginger. Ginger rhubarb. So varying degrees of success. Some of them, I would say most of them came out pretty good. I made some watermelon as well. That one was not quite so much of a success. However, all my batches last year were 1 gallon batches. So today I'm going to start my first larger batch. Probably going to do about a 3.5 to 4 gallon batch, depending on where exactly my starting gravity falls out. But just some of the tools that I've picked up. I have a little colander here. This is really nice when trying to juice out some berries or fruit. You can kind of roll them out here, squeeze that juice out of it, keep some of the pulp out of the mead. Very nice. A little bit of cheesecloth help for straining. This is my auto siphon. So when I'm racking, this goes down in there and you can pull this out and it basically helps create you the siphon. And then you can rack it off of the leaves. I have a couple extra airlocks. Sorry, drew a blank there for a second. Airlocks, for on top of whether it's a 1 gallon bottle or even my 5 gallon brew bucket takes an airlock. I have a couple extra bungs here that go in the 1 gallon bottles. This is another racking cane, so it's similar to the auto siphon, but you have to draw the vacuum itself. This is a bottling wand, so there's a little spring in here, so a little spring right there. So when you're filling up your bottles, you can push this down in the bottom of the bottle and it allows the mead or wine to flow into the bottle, and when you're done, it stops the flow. This is a tool I picked up yesterday. I'm going to use this to help mix in my bucket. Just some measuring spoons, mixing spoons, a thermometer, and then this is my hydrometer. It's hard to see on here. This tells me my specific gravity, or basically gives me a good estimation of how much sugar I have in my must. Then I have a 6 gallon brewing bucket and a sink full of Star San. So this is my sanitizing fluid. Use that to sanitize all my equipment. So that's why I have all this. The stuff I'm going to be using today is all sitting out here, already sanitized and ready to be used. And then over here, I have my bag of honey. So this is from Hawaii. It's some coffee berry or coffee blossom honey. And so Sean Harris is selling this online. If you look him up on Facebook, you can order some as well. I think these are 10-pound bags. I got 2 10-pound bags for about $98 shipped. So I thought that was a pretty good price. I'm going to try it with honey. This is just hot tap water. I'm just using this just to kind of help make the honey just a little bit more liquid for when I pour it into my brew bucket. And just kind of help mix it up and not waste so much. So the yeast that we're using today is SAFALE US-05. It's supposed to have a nice, clear, crisp finish with not a lot of flavor, extra flavors. So we're going to get the full flavor of the honey and not taste some esters or anything else from the yeast. So really wanting to focus on the honey for this particular batch. So we'll set that aside. I already got the yeast mixed up there. I'm going to set my bucket here. So this is water. It's actually just tap water that I've let sit out for a couple days to let all the chlorine burn off. So go ahead and open up the bag of honey. You can use other types of water as well. Some people claim that you don't want to use RO water or distilled water because there's minerals and stuff that can enhance flavors. So just find some water that you like. Some people go and buy spring water. Other people use their tap water. It all depends on what you have available and what you want to do. So I've used some filtered water before, but this time I'm going to try just regular tap water that, like I said, I let sit for a couple days. And that honey smells delicious. Just trying to add a little bit of extra water to this bag. Get the last bit of the honey out of there. Looks like I got most of it out of there now. Give this a quick good stir here. All right, so we're gonna do some rehydration of my yeast. I got my water heated up. Where we're at? We're about 107 degrees, 8 degrees. All right. So they recommend 110. I'm pretty close to that, so we're gonna go with that. I'm going to add in my 0.4 ounces of GO-FERM. And we're going to mix that up. Excuse me. Get all good and mix up. And this stuff doesn't really like to mix that well, but I want to get this going, and then I will get my must going after this. Just give this time for the yeast to get a nice bloom going. And so we're using SAFALE US-05 yeast. This packet is 11.5 grams. My recipe calculator came out to 10 grams, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole thing. Get that all good and mixed up. And we'll let that yeast sit now for at least 15 minutes. And then as I get the must going, we'll start combining this until we get those right at the, very close temperatures, and we'll get everything mixed together. All right, we're gonna try this mixer here. Get it going, get it really good and mixed up. And it's good to add some good air to your must. You want to get that oxygen in there for when the yeast starts fermenting. Once you have fermentation and you have alcohol in here, then you don't want to get oxygen in it, because that can break down the alcohol, but it'll give you some bad flavors. But starting off with, we want lots of oxygen in here. Man, that's really mixing this stuff up good. All right, we're taking specific gravity to determine how much sugar we actually have in here starting off with. All right, so I kind of messed up and I added too much water to my bucket at first for the amount of honey I had. So I actually end up having to go in and add some more honey. And so this is really foamy still, so I'm just kind of letting it settle out. But I think my target specific gravity, original starting specific gravity, is 1.109. So if you look at my hydrometer, there. So looking at my hydrometer, you can see the gray, just inside the gray is the 1.100, and then 1.10 is the next line down. So I want to be just short of that line. This camera doesn't want to stay focused on that. All right, put it back in here. You can see it is just short of that line. Maybe this is probably the most challenging part of making mead, is reading a hydrometer. All right, so now we got our starting specific gravity. Pretty close to 1.109, 1.110. So now I'm going to start adding a little bit of this into my yeast. Take a temperature here, see where we're at. So this has come down pretty close to room temperature. So it's looking at, it's about 78 degrees. Take a temperature reading over must. And it looks like it's about 74 degrees. It's really foamy from all that mixing. So this is actually pretty close to the same temperature, so I can probably keep mixing this in. Really let that yeast bloom. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pitch this yeast into the must here. So we're gonna go ahead and just dump that in there. Dump it in there. Swirl it up a little bit. Okay. little bit. There we go. Let's give it another good mixing. Now put the lid on it. Now we'll set the airlock. So there's some little lines here on this airlock. Fill it up with water. Pop that down in there. This is really keeps bugs and other things from crawling into the mead. Put a little top over it, but it allows gases to expand out. So you can see the air will come out. And so in the airlock is a little bit of star sand mixture. You can also use some like vodka, tequila, something along those lines. You just don't want to use just water. Water will evaporate. You want to make sure that there's liquid in there, and you want to make sure that liquid will kill anything that does, like fruit flies or something can sometimes get down in here. You'll see little fruit flies in the bottom, but they can't get into the mead, and that's the main purpose of this thing. So, all right, so our mead is started. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll degas it, and we'll add our first batch of nutrients in accordance with the TOSNA 3.0 schedule with FERMAID-O. All right, so long for now.